What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Set Bet Spike, powered by FTN Bets, right here on our FTN Network YouTube page. Eric Young, Chris Meaney here with you. Week 13 of the NFL season got underway yesterday. It was a Bills W against the New England Patriots. Not really a lot to dive into, EY, from that game. Josh Allen had his 2 passing touchdowns. One takeaway for me from that contest was James Cook. I believe you and I have talked a little bit about James Cook potentially being, I don't want to go as far as saying a league winner, but somebody to stash in your fantasy football leagues. And I don't know if the change at the running back position is happening. Singletary also found the end zone last night, but we saw Cook catch a lot of passes. We saw him out touch Singletary. We saw Singletary on the bench at parts of that game, whether he's in the doghouse. He has been benched a couple of times by Sean McDermott this season. I don't know, man. Don't know if you have any shares of James Cook, but he's turning out to be maybe a decent flex play moving forward in full point PPR leagues.
I don't. When there's 3 backs, like we saw Zach Moss really come on in the offseason, in the preseason games, everyone panicked. Just for me, how they use the running backs was the big deterrent to stay away from it. And also the fact that there was 3. And Singletary, I know he doesn't catch the ball a ton, and that's not really what he's known for. He has done it quite often in the past. James Cook is obviously a pass-catching guy, but isn't a lot smaller. I think he could probably run between the tackles just as good or just as efficiently as Devin Singletary. And that was the big reason I stayed away from it. He's a rookie. Mm-hmm. Singletary seemed pretty, secure in his role, and it's a small one. They throw the ball, right? And they do throw it to the backs, but the backs are just, it's like the 3rd, 4th option on every play. Even when they run, I feel like it's Josh Allen will see something in coverage and will check to a run, but it's never their first choice. And I don't want any part of that in fantasy, in season-long fantasy. I avoid it like crazy.
Yeah, that is fair. I do believe, though, if you're in a deeper league and if he's hanging around your waiver wire, you just never know, right? You just never know if Singletary does fall down and, Cook could, you can fall into 15 plus touches in one of the best offenses in football, but you are dead on. This is a Bills team that likes to throw, and a big W for them yesterday. That's really it. I think the only Patriot that you can feel confident about moving forward is Ramondre Stevenson, despite him not being all that efficient last night between the tackles, and also really not a lot on the ground. Only 10 carries from him last night, but he was still involved through the air. Is another game, I think 3 games in a row now where he has led the Patriots in catches and targets. So he does seem like he's a true bell cow with Damian Harris sidelined. You would like to see a little bit more from him on the ground, but if you have him in a full point PPR league, he is racking up some fantasy points for you over the past couple of weeks. That is for certain. That's it. That's all I really have to say about last night. As you can see here, we got a full slate of games, week 13, Carolina, Arizona on the bye. We're going to roll through all of these matchups, kind of just touch on maybe some certain sit players, guys that we like, maybe dive into a couple of props. We do have the FTN betting show coming your way at 5 Eastern on our FTN Network YouTube page, where myself and Taylor Mathis will roll through some of our favorite props and picks. Mean Streets, we had a couple as well, which I'll share on this show, but we do want to call some touchdowns, maybe some sides, and see which way we're leaning. We have EY's Titans up against my Eagles this week, so that's an anticipating matchup as well. In fact, we have a few good ones, man, like New York and Minnesota. We have Deshaun Watson going to Houston. We haven't seen him throw a ball in over 700 days. It just so happens his first start as a member of the Browns happens to come here in Houston against his former squad. Miami and San Fran should be highly entertaining. KC and Cincinnati's got a lot of buzz to it as well. The Chargers and the Raiders, we could see some offense in that game, along with the Jaguars and the Lions. But let's start right up at the top, as you see there, with the Steelers and with the Atlanta Falcons. I really like what I've seen from George Pickens, Kenny Pickett. I like this duo. I think it's going to be a fun duo in the league. I really believe that Pickens is going to be a player in the NFL. He's plus 195 over at DraftKings to score a touchdown. And he's last week he didn't get a touchdown, but he had a 2-point conversion. The week before that, he did find a way to get in the end zone. And for Pickett, it's mostly like you get a little bit of Pat Freiermuth in there, a little bit of Deontay Johnson, but I think his go-to guy is George Pickens. over the past couple of weeks. 6 targets in each of those games, 57 receiving yards, 83 receiving yards, and a touchdown in week 11. He's got 2 touchdowns in his last 5 football games, and I like him again this week, man. The Falcons are not a great football team. I think he shows up.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's not as good as they need him to be right now, but I mean, Pickett is getting better and better. The Pickens, the double P.
Yeah,
it's
going to be a nice duo.
This far away, popping my P's there, and I mean, again, the Pittsburgh Steelers find another amazing wide receiver. There's something going on there, right? Like they're just so good at it. Think about as long as you can remember, for a team that's not known at throwing the ball, like I think they're thought of as, a tough defense and a team that runs the ball and like blue collar, but they've always had amazing wide receivers. Antonio Brown in the news is
Antonio Brown, but they have Antonio Brown is that guy's such a freaking head case, man. AB, but yeah, they've had AB, even Juju, right? Getting Juju and coming onto the scene. Yep. Of course, he's not a member of the Steelers anymore. Emmanuel Sanders back in the day, Hines Ward. They've had so many good. Yep. Yeah. Martavis Bryant for a moment or two had some
Plexico Burress.
Plexico Burress. Yeah, they've always had wide receivers, and it looks like they have another one here in George Pickens. I'm seeing Pickens at FanDuel plus 220 for him to find the end zone. Again, Prop Shop is your friends, guys. Use it and help you find the best possible odds. For example, George Pickens. We got, I'm in the back end here running the show. I got all these like notifications popping up, but having troubles viewing on Twitch and things like that. Enough of the Twitch. So, FTNBets.com Prop Shop. What I will say also, ftnbets.com/free. You jump on over there, sign up, 3-day trial for free. You get tools, projections, picks across all sports. It's all there for you. Help you make some of those start and sit decisions. We're here to help you as well. If you have any, leave the comments and even circle back before, kickoff in the NFL, just to see if you're watching the replay of this show and you want a question answered, always circle back and try to help you guys out. But if you're watching live, you see some people leave those questions and we will get to them. But this is an example of what I'm talking about, the Prop Shop. It's just so darn cool. So Bet Rivers is 46.5 at -110 for George Pickens. Also, BetMGM 46.5, Caesars 46. But you start to see the odds change. So you can get -110 at BetMGM, -117 at Bet Rivers, -118 Caesars, -135 DraftKings for the same 46.5. Then we get into FanDuel that's hanging at 49.5. We get into PointsBet that's hanging at 50.5. So right there, instead of searching around at all the books, you type it in like Google search, it all pops up for you and say, wow, we can get 46.5 compared to 50.5 at the same price over at BetMGM. Wouldn't you want 47 yards? You're asking for 47 instead of 51. Of course, it's the same price. We don't have to worry about with the Jews. It really is. Incredible. It's fantastic. So I like the over on his receiving yards as well. But we're trying to call some touchdowns on this show. But he has topped this 46.5 in 2 straight, and 3 was past 5. It kind of eliminate that game against the Eagles that they played, and they didn't really do anything on offense. The Eagles got really good corners. His catch prop is juiced a little bit at -128 over 3.5, and he has only clipped that number once over the last 3 games. But I do see a guy that's trending up here, but plus 220, and news that Najee Harris is going to play. So if you're a Najee Harris owner, I would jump in and make sure that you just play him. He's been kind of trending up. I know there's a little bit of risk. You could see something like maybe he steps back a bit or he suffers an injury, a bit of a setback, but he's looked pretty good, man, over the previous 2 games. Daily Handle's in the house, some PTP games on the slate. He says Antonio Brown is a joke and he's a point emoji. Can we get the definition, Daily Handle, of what the point emoji means? Like, what is this? He's a loser. Is that what you're calling Antonio Brown? Yazir is in the house and he's got a question for us. So let's address this. Of course, if people are here and they're looking for some questions, let's see. What do we got? He says, how should I feel about my team heading into the playoffs? 12-man, full point PPR. He says he's got Patty Mahomes. He's feeling pretty good about having arguably the number 1 quarterback in football. You got Dalvin Cook, CMC. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Keenan Allen is back into the lineup. He's back 2 games. This is game number 3 in a row for him. Hollywood Brown also back in the lineup. David Njoku's not going to play this week. He's already ruled out. So you're going to have to find yourself a tight end. Tyler Bass, you got a top kicker. Treylon Burks, you got Pacheco. It's a pretty good look. It's a pretty good squad. Looks pretty strong here. Amon-Ra, I think, is a rock-solid wide receiver 1. When Keenan is playing, he's a rock-solid wide receiver 2, especially in a PPR league. He catches a lot of passes. No Mike Williams again this week, I don't think. Hollywood Brown, trending up, just being back in the lineup. I like the squad. The uncertainty is with CMC, and who would have thought, right? Is that CMC is... No. He's not getting that full workload that he got in Carolina, and he's not 100% right now, but we know that the ceiling is at least there, and it's PPR, so he's always going to catch some passes, EY.
Yeah, is it true or not? I don't know. Mitchell is out or banged up.
He's out. He's done.
So
6 to 8 weeks.
I mean, I think Mason looked okay, but I think it's Tyrion Davis-Price. I think they consider him to be the better back, but Mason is better special teams player. So, I mean, again, it's another situation where there's going to be 3 guys, and you got Deebo Samuel, who's going to carry the ball as well. You're a McCaffrey owner, show of hands. Yep, that's me.
Yeah, I am.
It's a nightmare. Yeah. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
And I think real football-wise, San Francisco has handled this perfectly. You don't want a guy that's that size with that kind of injury history, smashing into linemen and linebackers over and over. You want to get him the ball in space and let him do what he does. I feel they haven't done that enough, but they've won football games, and San Francisco looks super dangerous. I mean, they got these game-changing players at every position. George Kittle is still one of the best tight ends in the league. Deebo Samuel is a one-of-one and does things that no other receiver does. Brandon Ayuk is showing that he can be the wide receiver 1 and is probably the wide receiver 1. Then you got Christian McCaffrey, and Elijah Mitchell looked unbelievable, but just there's something in the water in San Francisco. They cannot keep running backs healthy. And like you said, Christian McCaffrey banged up again. You're starting him. I mean, there's no way you can sit him. There's no way you have a team that you can
not
afford
with this
to do
team.
That.
Yeah,
you got to start him. He's going to play. Your hope is that he, gets half the carries, gets 5 to 8 to possibly 10 catches, scores a touchdown, and gets a bunch of cumulative yards. That's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario is he's more banged up than you think, and Mason and Tyrion Davis-Price handle the bulk of the work. They're going to have to score because Miami's going to score. There's no doubt there. I think this is the most intriguing matchup of the week. And I'll be really interested to see what McCaffrey does this week.
Yeah, we can dive right into that one in a second. This is the rest of the squad here, Hayden Hurst. So you do have a backup tight end option there. I do like Njoku more than Hurst moving forward, especially with Deshaun Watson under center. But of course, he's ruled out this week. So there's something you have to do there. I wonder if you try to handcuff CMC now, like if Madison... Madison is, you got Cook handcuffed with Madison there. So I think that's, I think you got a good squad here, right? It is CMC is a wild card. We know that the ceiling is there. I still think he's going to catch a few passes out of the backfield, like 4 or 5. Another name I'll throw out there for the CMC owners is Tevin Coleman. Don't be shocked if Tevin Coleman is active, maybe this week, or we see the veteran back kind of, fall into a larger workload. Of course, he's been inactive, but we did see him earlier in the year active when Elijah Mitchell was hurt. And Tevin Coleman there's a history there, of course, with him in San Fran, not only just earlier this year, but a couple years ago with Shanahan and company. Also, was with Shanahan in Atlanta and was really good. It was a nice 1-2 punch between him and Devonta Freeman. So Coleman can maybe fill in. If Mason, to your point, is a special teams guy, I would expect him to definitely be active this week and get some touches and more so than Tyrion Davis-Price. I think that anytime you have an opportunity to get CMC, you get CMC. But I also don't think that the Niners organization really believes in Mason or Tyrion Davis-Price, and they had some concerns about Elijah Mitchell staying healthy. So they went out and got a guy like CMC. But again, in deep leagues, I have picked up Tevin Coleman. I'm just stashing him. If he's not active this week, maybe I'll drop him. But I wouldn't be shocked, man, if he's a guy that does, maybe touch the field here down the stretch as they try to keep CMC fresh for the playoffs. CMC was his first pick last year and it killed him. Didn't draft him this year. Traded for him and Lenny. and T when Lenny started to worry him. So yeah, okay, you bought low on CMC and you acquired him. And I think you got a really good squad there. It just got to get to the dance, Yasmir. Yazir, you just have to get to the dance. That's it. Anything can happen. Play all those matchups, get to the dance, and away you go. So I think you got a good squad. Let's get back into some of the other matchups here. Let's kind of stay in order. Green Bay and Chicago. We have the Packers 3.5. It went to 4.5, and then it's back down to 3.5 because Justin Fields is going to play. It sounds like he is going to play. He's got really nobody to throw the football to. Darnell Mooney is now done for the season. He was placed on IR. You got a little bit of Byron Pringle in there and Chase Claypool. Maybe Cole Kmet's season is back on. I'll probably have him ranked as a top 10 tight end because he was, he had a couple good games in a row there with Justin Fields. I think the biggest question is, do you roll out Justin Fields or do you risk Justin Fields? What other options do you have? Of course, if you're a Fields owner, you had to find another option last week. Me personally, I went Geno Smith. Now, do I want to play Geno Smith or do I want to play Justin Fields? Do I want to play Justin Fields or do I want to play Trevor Lawrence? Where are you at with Justin Fields? It's a lot of risk here, but before he suffered the injury, he was fantastic.
Yeah, well, I can say as a Justin Fields owner, I'm glad to see him back. I feel like the fact that he was so questionable right up to the game last week, it means he's probably good to go this week. Is there anybody that's completely healthy in the NFL at this time of year? Probably not. I'm in a 16-team 2-quarterback league where you can only roster 2 quarterbacks. So I had to put him on. When they're questionable, you can move them or when they're out, you can move them to the IR. So I moved him to the IR and picked up gunslinger Brian Allen. That did not go well for me. I lost.
Kyle.
Kyle so I'm happy to have him back. Okay. But I think you're in a 12-team, 10-team league. There's probably better options because you don't know what you're going to get. No Darnell Mooney scares me. There's a bunch of other, kind of Jag guys, Dante Pettis, Equanimous St. Brown. These are all just, players in the NFL, guys that are on teams that fill in. Cole Kmet, like you said, I think could get a huge bump. He's going to be the most trusted target for Fields. And, what I know about the human anatomy, the non-throwing shoulder does not affect one's legs. He's going to run, and he's going to be running for his leg. And if you think a shoulder injury is going to stop him from doing that, I think you're nuts. If they're going to play him, he's going to run. And he's going to rack up points. So I think the floor is probably good. The ceiling is what worries me. If you got a 1-quarterback league and he's your guy, I would probably look somewhere else.
I mean, I got a tough decision to make. I have him and I have Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I didn't think Fields was going to play this week. And on Tuesday, I swapped out Geno for Trevor Lawrence. I have these guys side by side, but I think there's a higher ceiling, slightly higher with Trevor Lawrence against Detroit this week. And now I don't know. With Fields there, I don't know. I think I'm going to play Trevor Lawrence. I don't really want to risk it. You have the threat of maybe he takes a hit and the shoulder aggravates him again, and they decide that they want to, just sit him, which they should anyways, man. My goodness, you got the franchise quarterback. What are you doing? Right? You really want to beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers that bad? Like, come on, man. Like, I would have him take a seat, but it sounds like he's going to play. And he's going to start. Christian Watson's plus 140 for a touchdown. He just continues to score touchdowns, man. And like last week when Rodgers left, Jordan Love came in there and Jordan Love targeted him and he had the big, long touchdown run. I'm just going to ride this out with him. And I think Cole Kmet plus 205 for a touchdown. Who else is catching balls for the Chicago Bears? So those are the 2 touchdown calls that I like from the game. I'll give you guys a sneak peek here what we have for Justin Fields for our projections. And if you want to see them, ftmbets.com/free. You can just jump in there and see them. Justin Fields, week 13 NFL projections led by our guy, Jeff Ratcliffe. We have him for 45.5 rushing yards on 8.3 attempts. We have him for only 171 passing yards. That may be generous. And 1.4 touchdown passes. So that puts him at 17.9 fantasy points overall. That is not even like this is a conservative rank, but I'll give you guys a sneak peek of the top quarterbacks. So we have Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Herbert, Lamar, Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Dak, Geno, Watson, Tua Field. So he's outside the top 12. I think that's roughly quarterback 12 or quarterback 13. So there's a little bit of risk. There's a little bit of risk of rolling him out, despite how great he has looked over the past couple weeks. And my one buddy said that he wouldn't run because he's got the shoulder injury, but I agree with you. Like, he is running. You kidding me? He doesn't want to take the hit, but he's still going to run. He just may not be able to throw, right? He might not be able to throw as to the point where
it is non-throwing shoulder though, right? Like that.
It is, but it could still bother him. But yeah, it's great that it's his non-throwing shoulder. Okay, Jacksonville, Detroit should be a fun game. Really should be. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. We have a high total, flirting around 50. The Jags had a nice come-from-behind win last week. I thought it was Trevor Lawrence's best moment in the NFL to come back on the Ravens, and good on Doug Peterson and company to go for two and to get that convo, and then beat the Baltimore Ravens. Now to go to the Detroit to take on the Lions. You're starting Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra is a top 10 wide receiver. You're starting Jamal Williams. He just seems to score a touchdown every single week. I still believe DeAndre Swift is risky. There's, a high reward there for sure. What he can do out of the backfield. He's not getting the goal line touches, but you do expect a couple. I expect a couple catches out of the backfield, maybe like a handful of carries as well. On the other side, Travis Etienne sounds like he's good to go. I would play him. I wouldn't worry about him, even if he scaled back a little bit, which I do believe he will be. You've been talking a lot about the usage that he's had and wondering if he could hold up. And, he missed last week he played, but he left early due to a foot injury. And they've picked up Darrell Henderson off waivers recently. And they also have JaMychal Hasty. So it could just be maybe a 15-touch workload for him as opposed to 23, 24, which we have seen. Two guys that I like a lot inside the offense in Jacksonville, Christian Kirk and then Zay Jones, who is trending up as well. Zay Jones is plus 100 over at DraftKings for 5 catches. 5 catches, that's it. He's got 24 targets in his last 2 games. He's got 19 grabs over that span, and he's had at least 5 catches in 3 straight. The Lions are a top 5 matchup. They've allowed the 4th most fantasy points of wide receivers. They're allowing 12 catches per game to the position, which is also inside the top 5. So I think we'll see a lot of offense in this game, man. Do you have a side? Which way to lean? It's tough. Who do you pick? Jacksonville and Detroit? I don't know. I'd probably just go with the Jags.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. 2 teams that are on the rise. Detroit, obviously it's not hard to be better than they were last year, but they are certainly better. You love the coach there. I don't know if he's a good coach, but I think he's a coach that the players love to play for. Cool story with Jamal Williams. I don't know. Are they getting Williams, the receiver? Is he off IR? I don't remember.
He's off IR, but he's just practicing. I don't think he's going to play. I think we'll see him at some point, but I don't believe it'll be this weekend.
My point to that would be, and I said this, people were drafting him and stashing him. And at the start of the year, that's easy because nobody's hurt, and just stick this guy on my IR and pick up another guy. But the reality is now is everybody's hurt. You need that space. And the truth is he hasn't played or practiced or anything. Like, it's not like he's just going to come out and be this unbelievable receiver. First of all, he's never played a single snap in the NFL. And I think he's going to be good. Detroit thinks he's going to be good, but the reality is nobody knows. We're all just guessing. And the big thing is coming off an injury like that, he's not going to be in football shape. He's not going to be up to speed with the offense. He very easily could know the plays and know where to go and know where to run and all the other stuff, but hasn't played and hasn't practiced. So avoid him. Lawrence, I think, took a step forward this year, a player that I liked. I have in a lot of places. I don't think he runs as much as I would like or I thought he was going to. I mean, it's obviously was a huge part of his game at Clemson, and I know it's harder to run like that in the pros because everybody's quick. But I would like to see them do some more designed runs and open that game up. I thought Jamal Hasty looked awesome. Obviously knows the offense, obviously is a good fit for the kind of offense, had a bunch of catches, ran the ball with real determination and real pop, when he was running, which I really like to see. I mean, obviously it looks like Etienne's going to play, but I do believe it'll be in a diminished role. Like a foot injury like that doesn't just go away in a week. It just doesn't. And they would be smarter to spread it out a bit. I mean, Jamal Hasty looked really good. Really, really good. And I don't know if they involve Henderson or whatever, but I mean, Hasty looked awesome. I would like to see him play a little bit more and limit Etienne's at least running. I mean, I think you got to throw the ball to Etienne because that's what he's best at. But the running should be left to Jamal Hasty. But I mean, who knows? That's just a guess as well. I think Detroit wins this game. If I was to say to bet, just because I like the story, I think they're starting to feel it. Jared Goff is, I mean, certainly not the answer, but he's respectable at the quarterback position, will keep the offense on time and stuff. As long as he's not pressured and off script too much, he's a pretty decent quarterback. And the running game there has been really good. And I mean, like Justin Jackson has looked pretty good. You know,
I know. I wish that he would stop getting touches though, and they would go to Swift. But I keep hearing that Swift is fully healthy and he's full participant in practice. But yeah, Justin Jackson continues to get some touches. Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's any way that Swift is fully healthy. We have a 51.5 total in this game. I think we're going to see some offense, ladies and gentlemen. I got a couple of long shot touchdowns for you. Little fun revenge touchdown from Marvin Jones, who found the end zone last week. Always a big player inside the red zone. He only has 2 touchdowns this season. It's not really about playing his former team. I'm sure maybe Trevor Lawrence would like to get him a touchdown or two. It's definitely clear that Zay Jones and Christian Kirk are the number 1, number 2 options for Trevor Lawrence. Not getting a lot of targets here for Marvin Jones, but the fact that we do have a 51.5 total and the Lions have played to a lot of overs since the start of last season. They have a lot of holes defensively. Plus 340 for a touchdown for Marvin Jones and plus 310 for a touchdown for DJ Chark, who hasn't played a whole lot this season, just 5 games, but he does have 2 touchdowns in those 5 games. Last week, he scored a touchdown. His first game back from missing a ton of action. He hadn't played since week 3. Last week, or week 11 rather, he just had the 1 target. He hardly played, but last week he played a little bit more against the Bills, which was a tougher spot for him. He had 5 targets and he played 73% of the snaps. So I'd expect him to flirt with probably 90% of the snaps in his 3rd game back. I think he's a sneaky little play in deeper leagues as a flex play. I would play Chark over Marvin Jones if you were in that kind of situation where between the two in a deep format. I don't think any of these guys are really rock solid top 35 wide receiver 3s, but we could see a lot of scoring. Maybe sneaky for DFS. But certainly Zay Jones over 4.5 is my favorite play from this game. And also like Christian Kirk. I mean, Kirk has been dominant with the targets as well. And Jamal Williams probably scores a touchdown. He scores a touchdown every single game, but he's minus 145 to score a touchdown. So I'm not going to go that way. Next up here, we have the Jets and the Vikings. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I got a lot of respect for the Jets' defense and Sauce Gardner. It's going to be interesting what they do to Justin Jefferson. Is Sauce actually going to be on him? We don't have that matchup in our wide receiver cornerback matchup tool that Sauce will be on Justin Jefferson, but they could bracket him and try to take him away. And then, you know, on the other side, Mike White, man, it's the Mike White story. Last year, he had a couple highlight reel moments, and this year and last week, he looked really good, man. He gave them a win, and he spread the ball around to a lot of his weapons, man. Garrett Wilson had a couple touchdowns. Elijah Moore showed up and had a touchdown. We know that Michael Carter probably won't play, so the hot waiver wire pickup this week was Zonovan, a.k.a. Bam Knight. I don't know. You picked him up off the waiver wire. You need a running back to play. I think he's a good low-end RB2. He probably falls into about 15, 16 touches in this matchup.
Yeah, he probably does. I mean, it's kind of interesting to look at, right? Like this, you got White sitting on your bench. You got Zach Wilson, who, I mean, the Jets won a couple games despite him. But I mean, it was very obvious to anybody that has watched football for any period of time that the problem was at the quarterback position. And, you know, White comes in and just ultimate confidence, ultimate knowledge of what they want to do with the ball, took care of the ball, distributed it to the playmakers, like looked like an absolute pro, you know, and with a team with, I mean, a really good wide receiving core. I don't think it's talked about enough. Corey Davis is still a very good wide receiver when he plays.
He is, yeah.
You know, Wilson has proven that he is the guy there. I think he's undoubted number 1. And Elijah Moore was a guy that was drafted really higher than Garrett Wilson, you know, over Corey Davis. Elijah Moore was drafted higher than both of those guys and was a forgotten man. Uzama and Ty Conklin at the tight end position. Like the Jets have really sneakily put together a really, really good team. And, obviously I think it's pretty obvious that White is the guy to quarterback this team going forward. And if you picked him up, you're playing him. He looked real good.
He did. I don't think we have like a touchdown prop for Zonovan Knight just yet because it's not official that Michael Carter is ruled out. We do have some touchdown props from him at plus 150. Plus 150 is not bad when you consider he's going to be the starting running back for the squad. Like James Robinson will probably be active, but he was inactive last week. And Zonovan got a lot of the first and second down opportunities. I think this game will be tight. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. They have a couple tough matchups moving forward where if Carter misses time, maybe Ty Johnson is a guy to look at in his receiving yard props or maybe in a full point PPR. And in the deepest leagues, you could roll him out. But I would expect Zonovan Knight to get 15 plus carries in this game with no Michael Carter. And maybe he catches a pass or two. So plus 150 for a touchdown is not bad. And I could pretty much guarantee it that if Carter is ruled out, that number you're not going to be able to get plus 150. That's at Bet Rivers. FanDuel's hanging plus 120. DK's hanging plus 120. That could get down to maybe minus 100 once we hear about Michael Carter. But TJ Hawkinson going to continue to talk up this guy. Very impressed with the usage that he has here as a member of the Minnesota Vikings. In the last 4 weeks, he's inside the top 10 in targets overall. 34 targets in 4 games, 25 grabs. 9, 7, 5, and 5. Those are his catches. His catch prop again is at 4.5 minus 120. I think he gets to 5 catches. The Jets, they give up some plays in the middle of the field. Of course, Kirk Cousins a few weeks ago when he was targeting Justin Jefferson, Darius Slay had a couple picks and he stopped going Justin Jefferson's way. Kirk Cousins I know he wants to throw to Justin Jefferson, but if Sauce is on him, it could just be, Adam Thielen, a little bit of TJ Hawkinson in the slot in the middle of the field. So he's plus 220 for a touchdown, but I do like his catch prop at 4.5. I think the Vikings win, but I think it's going to be a very tight football game. Washington and New York, a lot on the line here between these two squads. They're both sitting in a playoff spot. In fact, we have all 4 teams inside the NFC East in a playoff spot right now. This is the first matchup between these two teams. They're going to play again in a couple weeks. There's a lot riding on the line in this game. Man, the Commanders look really good. Just one loss with Taylor Heineke since he was named starter, and that one loss came against the Vikings in a very tight game. The Giants are headed in the opposite direction. They haven't got a whole lot from Saquon Barkley over the past couple of weeks, and Washington, one of the best run defenses in football. Yeah, I would play Saquon Barkley. I would play Darius Slayton. I'd play Terry McLaurin. I'd play Brian Robinson Jr. Those are really the only 4 guys I feel that I would start in my lineups. And I'm very interested, Eric, in Brian Robinson Jr. And there's no props on him just yet because Antonio Gibson has missed practice over the past couple of days. So we're just waiting on word if he is going to suit up. I'm seeing minus 110 for a touchdown for Brian Robinson Jr. He's got a couple in back-to-back games. I think he actually has 2 in his last 3. Just really nice runs from Brian Robinson Jr. A nice run against the Eagles a couple weeks ago and one last week, a receiving touchdown that he had. Which was he just blew up a guy. He just ran over a guy and then went into the end zone. He's fun to watch. I'm pretty sure I'd take anything over 68.5 for Brian Robinson Jr. against a run defense that's not too great. Do you have anything to add? I don't think we'll see a lot of offense in this game. I think there's better spots to call some touchdowns.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting, just because where these two teams sit, again, in Washington going in the offseason, getting Carson Wentz and benching Tyler Heineke. There is times where it looks like he's playing football with his eyes closed, but there is a definite spark and a definite morale change and a definite jump when this guy's playing. He's obviously loved by the players. If you're Terry McLaurin, you're praying to the god of skinny punks that Tyler Heineke's the cornerback, and there's no way they're switching away from him now.
No chance.
I love watching him play. He's gritty. He's invested. The team, they were on the way out before he started playing, and now they're right in the mix.
Just turn their season around.
100%. And going against Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones doesn't have anybody to throw to, but he's somehow still getting it done, coddling it together. Still, nobody, including me, probably respects how well Daniel Jones runs the ball. And I don't know what it is, but he I mean, he is very, very good at scrambling, very, very good at running, which gives him a really good floor, I think, for a lower end quarterback. I think Washington wins this game. If I was to bet,
Me
that's
too.
what I would bet on. I like McLaurin to score a touchdown here. I like Brian Robinson to score a touchdown. He's looked
Me too.
tough. I mean, he's not breaking any speed records, but that dude runs
No.
tough. And that's, like that's valuable. The players on your team see you get smashed by a guy that outweighs you by 40 pounds and you just keep churning and you get 4 or 5 extra yards or you get the first down the team. And that's energizing to a team. If you played sports, you would understand that. Something like that, a guy that runs like that runs with conviction, that runs with power. And the big thing is runs with will. And he's going to get the first down. He's going to get the touchdown. He's going to get the yards that they need. And he's going to do it with sheer will and sheer, and ability as well. But he's really fun to watch, man. Those would be my 2 guys. On the other side, I think Barkley is a guy, but they haven't been using him enough, in my opinion. I mean, Barkley is your offense. He needs to touch the ball 25 times.
Yeah, they got to get back to that. I know it's a tough spot to run against this team, but they got to try to find some ways to be creative with some end arounds or maybe some quick screen passes to him and just get the ball in his hands a little bit more. I'm going to eat the juice on Brian Robinson Jr. too, and I think this could get a little bit more out of hand at -110 right now. You're watching the replay on a Saturday, and Antonio Gibson's ruled out. This may turn into -150 or 60. There's not a lot of touchdown calls I like to get behind. It's like you calling goal scorers. Anytime you see a plus, you'll jump on it. Maybe not so on a negative, but like you said on Dangle Batsella yesterday, Jason Robertson, he was negative -120. Who cares? He scored a hat trick. Sometimes it's just whatever. You feel like it's going to happen. If there's no Gibson, this guy is going to fall into 25 plus opportunities. That's carries plus targets. He caught 2 passes last week. There's no JD McKissick. The backfield's going to be his. He proved that he can catch a pass. As I mentioned, had that receiving yard touchdown last week. You could maybe parlay a couple of these guys, right? Travis Kelce is going to be negative money for a touchdown. Maybe you put him in with a Brian Robinson, and maybe you get another goal line back, some other guys that we can touch on as we continue to roll through the schedule. Darius Slayton's receiving yard prop, again, is way too low. I don't understand. This is 4 straight weeks, I believe, we are going to cash 45.5 at -120. His last 5 games, 58, 66, 95, 86, 63. He's a big catch guy, 17.1, I believe, yards per catch off the top of my head. That's what it was last week. And he only had 3 catches and he had 63 yards. So that number is actually probably higher than 17.1. He gets targeted down the field. It only takes 2 grabs, guys, 2 grabs for him to get to this number, honestly. And books have him at 3.5 catches, which is another one that I actually don't mind. So Darius Slayton, you got Terry. We both got Robinson. I think Washington wins as well. Let's keep things moving along here. Here we go. Look at this matchup. Titans and Eagles. Strength on strength. We got one of the best run defenses in football in Tennessee. In fact, they're number 1 according to Football Outsiders. And the Eagles just ran for 300 yards with just Hurts and Miles Sanders combined for 300 rushing yards. As a squad, they flirted with 400 rushing yards. I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. Did the Eagles just play to their strength and tried to run the football? Because at times this season, Nick Sirianni and company have just done whatever it takes. And what I mean by that is exploit defenses, opposing defenses. If you can't run on a team, they'll throw. If you can run on a team, they'll use that strength like they did last week against the Packers, and they ran all over them. I think that this could be a big AJ Brown game, dude. I know that he's got it circled on his calendar. He said the other day, he tweeted, said the Tennessee fans don't like me. They all hate me. I think Nick Sirianni and company are going to try to get this guy the ball. And you can throw in the Titans. And they still have a really good, pass defense. They get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But if there's a hole on this squad defensively, it is the big explosive plays. I think the Titans cover, and I think it's upset alert. I know you've been talking about the Eagles very highly. I've been a little pessimistic against my squad, but man, they just have the recipe to beat the Eagles, and that is run the rock with Derrick Henry. They've struggled all year to stop the run. Henry's rushing yard prop is 84.5. I've already bet it. I think he hits the century mark. There's been some very mediocre running backs that have ran all over the Eagles so far this season. This is the best back that they have faced all year. I think he has a day, and I know I'm not breaking news by that, but I like him a lot, and I think the Titans cover the 4.5.
Yeah, I believe they cover the 4.5 as well. I'm in lockstep with you on Derrick Henry. I've been saying it from his rookie year that this is not a human being and he is a one of one and a generational player at any position you want to talk about. Um, this will be very interesting. I mean, it's two things. My hometown team, the team that I followed for years and years, and in weird happenstance, I ended up moving to Nashville. Was a Tennessee Titans fan before then. Obviously, I want them to win, but the Eagles are a juggernaut. And like you said, the coaching there, they figure out what you do well, and they stay away from that. And the Titans defense has gotten. I mean, like the first couple games, they looked like the defense looked really bad, and then just over time, Vrabel being the coach that he is, the players being the players they are, just figuring it out and piecing it together. It's two different. I mean, look at AJ Brown. I'm a Titans fan, and I love you. I always have. It's a business. I would never hold it against. If I was a player like him with a skill set like him, as a receiver, I want to go to a team that's going to throw the ball, and the Titans are not interested in that. Which I think is right because your best offensive player, your best player is Derrick Henry, and there's no reason for him to not be the where the offense flows. So just the reality is he's going to touch the ball 20, 25, 28 times, and there's not going to be as many opportunities to throw. The Titans want to control the clock. They want to control the pace of play. They want to have the ball and keep it out of Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown's hands. And that's what they're going to try to do. It'll be interesting. Like, I don't know if Dominic Sue is going to play, and they picked up another defensive tackle trying to shore up the run defense a little bit. That'll be an interesting story going to this. I believe I'm a Tennessee Titans fan, but I still believe that the Philadelphia Eagles win this game. But I do think the Titans can cover, and I think it's going to be real, real good.
Yeah, I jumped on the 5.5 on Monday. The 4.5, I still like it. I think it is going to be a really good game. As I mentioned, strength on strength. It's going to be interesting to see if they stick to their game plan of running the football or if they take some shots on this secondary. But I think this game has the potential to be over quick. And by that, I mean both teams running the ball, clock continuing to move and move and move. And Derrick Henry, man, I just don't know how there's a way to slow this guy down. I mean, it's just been, I've seen it firsthand. You have as well. They don't sell out to stop the run. Gannon, the defensive coordinator for the Eagles in 2 years, he hasn't changed his game plan once. He doesn't want to give up big explosive plays. That's how they want to play their defense. He says he feels like without giving up explosive plays, let these guys have their chunk yards, whatever they want to have. We'll stop them eventually, and teams are not going to be able to stop our offense. This is basically word for word that has come out of his mouth, is that as long as they can eliminate the big explosive plays, that when they get on offense, they're going to be able to score some points. But we'll see. It should be a really entertaining game. I got a lot of respect for Mike Vrabel. He always has, his team has always come to play. The guy said he would give up his left nut to win. Like, the guy would do anything. The guy would do anything.
I've already got kids and I'm married, so take it.
So take it. One other thing I like as Derrick Henry over 13.5 receiving yards. I know we've talked a lot about this over the course of the season. Last week, he had a monster day through the air. He's having a career year in terms of catches and targets and receiving yards. This is a number he's topped 6 times already this season. So 13.5. It just takes one pass, one screen pass. You saw it last week. He had the fumble at the end. But man, good luck stopping that guy when he's got a screen pass or two. And the Eagles have really good corners. So maybe they don't, maybe Tannehill doesn't throw the ball all that often to his wide receivers, which he doesn't really anyway. So run the rock with Henry, maybe a couple screen passes. I got to take the A.J. Brown anytime touchdown just as the revenge thing. I'm sure they'll try to get one for him, but I think we'll see a low-scoring game, believe it or not, but I do believe it'll be a field goal game. Let's kind of rapid fire through the rest of these ones. We got Cleveland and Houston, Denver and Baltimore, and Seattle and Los Angeles. A lot of lopsided affairs here, to be honest. Like, I'm not taking any touchdown calls for the Broncos. It's the worst offense in football. I do like Courtland Sutton over 4.5 receptions. He has cleared 4.5 in 3 straight games. Jerry Jeudy has missed the last 2. Doesn't look like Judy's going to play this week. And I don't trust any Baltimore wide receivers either. Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Kenyon Drake. I don't know if J.K. Dobbins is going to play. I feel the best about Gus Edwards as a low-end RB2, maybe a flex. He's not going to catch any passes, but he should be the lead there. Mark Andrews is an anytime touchdown, but that's it. I like the under. Denver doesn't give up much, and they don't score. So I think Baltimore probably wins this game like 24-7, something like that. Seattle, LA has nothing to offer, right? Everybody's kind of shut down there. Aaron Donald as well. Looks like he's going to be shut down. Van Jefferson's the number one wide receiver, but the targets that has been thrown his way have been uncatchable. I like Kerwin Williams as a low end RB2 or maybe a flex, certainly in PPR leagues. Cam Akers is questionable due to an illness, but Kerwin Williams has, gotten some carries, and he's the pass catching running back inside this offense, and they're massive dogs here. You roll out everyone in Seattle, Walker, DK, Lockett. I guess the biggest thing is, what do you expect from Deshaun Watson going to Houston this week? Do you think there's going to be some rust? He hasn't thrown a football in an NFL game in like 740 days or something silly.
Yeah, I mean, people that believe he's going to come in and throw for 300 yards and have a day are insane. Like, yes, is he a better quarterback than Jacoby Brissett? Absolutely. But he hasn't, he's been practicing for 1 week, like not with the team. And before that, he was not practicing with the team. I'm sure he's throwing the ball. I'm sure he's, playing with high school kids and college people and, people that are around him and people that know, but he wasn't legally allowed to practice with the team. Will he know the offense? Yes. Will he be up to game speed? Absolutely not. Obviously, will there be more eyes on any player than him this weekend? No, he knows that. No. He's not an idiot. Like, everyone's going to be staring at him. He is under the microscope. It's even crazier to think that the first game is his first game back is the game in Texas.
The NFL set it up like that, man. They know what they're doing. They just set it up.
As the pro wrestler of the show, I can't say that it's rigged, but it is very interesting.
It's totally rigged, man. It is totally rigged. They gave him X amount of games. They could have given him 15 games. They gave him X amount of games to have.
It'll be the most watched and most anticipated Houston game all year, and it has nothing to do
Super
with
Bowl.
Houston. Oh,
it's
100%.
Wild. There's going to be all kinds of crazy signs from fans. There's going to be
he's going to be booed every time they hut him the ball. Every time he touches the ball, he will be booed and booed mercilessly there and probably everywhere he goes. We're going to find out mentally how tough he is.
Absolutely.
We're going to find out.
Yeah, we're about to find out. Albert's in the house. Hello. We did touch on Justin Fields quite a bit. We can recap in just a second or so, but we did dive into him. If you wanted to just watch the first part of the show, Albert, we're running short on time, and we do want to get through the schedule. In short, the projections I shared for Justin Fields, I also shared the top 12 quarterbacks. He was just outside the top 12. I don't know what your other option is at the quarterback position. If you're hanging out with us still, maybe you can share that with us. Me personally, I think I'm leaning starting Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields. I think there's a little bit of risk. I don't know if he's going to suffer a setback. I understand that he's been really good on the ground. He also doesn't have his guy Darnell Mooney this week as well. So I don't fully trust him. I understand that he does come with the floor with his rushing upside, but I think I'd rather take the ceiling in Trevor Lawrence. I think we'll be pretty close. I know I'm going to have to sweat that one out. Touchdown calls from this game. I really like Donovan Peoples-Jones. There's no, who's going to be the number one guy for him? Cooper is definitely a better wide receiver. Who's to say it's not Donovan Peoples-Jones? He's the deep threat guy inside this offense. When I view Deshaun Watson, from a couple years ago, I think of him taking shots down the field with like Will Fuller. I don't know if Donovan Peoples-Jones can be his Will Fuller in Cleveland, but he is a deep threat guy inside this offense, and I'm sure he's going to take a couple shots. He's definitely going to want to have a couple touchdowns. I think there's a better chance of him showing rust than going in there and having a 350-yard day with 3 or 4 passing touchdowns. Nick Chubb, at the end of the day, Nick Chubb is one of the best running backs in football, and this is one of the worst run defenses in all of football. So Nick Chubb, his rushing yard prop, Eric, opened up at 90. It's now 102.5. People are hammering that over. He's going to have a massive day. It's tough for me to get behind any running back over 100 yards, so I'm not going to give that prop. But I do believe he's going to have a massive, massive day on the ground. Keep it simple for Deshaun Watson, and then maybe he takes some shots towards the end of the game. Miami and San Fran. We got 2 games here that are pretty good. Miami, San Fran, and Kansas City and Cincinnati. And then even the Chargers in Las Vegas and be high-scoring affair between those 2 teams. But, man, this Dolphins and 49ers game, there's a lot of storylines here for sure, right? You have a Niners team that hasn't allowed a point in the last 4 second halves. 4 straight second halves where they have not allowed a point. They didn't allow a point last week. They're the only
And
team in
nobody's
the
talking
NFL
about their
that
defense, right?
nobody. They're just
Nobody's
talking about their
about it.
offense. They're talking about CMC. No points last week. No points in 4 straight second halves. The only team in football that hasn't allowed 300 yards per game. The number one scoring defense in all of football. Then you have Miami, which is arguably the most explosive offense in the league, the best 1-2 punch at wide receiver in Hill and Waddle. You have Mike McDaniel against Kyle Shanahan. Guys have been together for years. You have guys on Wilson,
Jeff
former
Wilson,
Niner now.
Mostert.
It's just Mostert revenge. Looks like he's going to play in this game as well. It should be, I think, the game of the week. It should be really entertaining. And I'm on the Miami side to cover the spread at 4.5. I think that they're going to hang. I think maybe we'll just see a lot of questions answered about Tua. People still don't believe in Tua. He's a perfect 7-0 when he starts and finishes games. This will be a very tough test for him, but man, what's that?
He's proven he's the real deal.
People don't believe in him, man. People still don't believe in him.
The ball deep. There's all this. There's tons of statistical evidence that he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks at throwing it deep. And yes,
number one
actually has a lot to do with having Tyreek Hill, who is an absolute one-of-one freak, and his separation, his ability to catch the ball down the field is insane. Of course, that has a lot to do with it, but Tua still has to throw him the ball, and it has to be in a place where he can catch it. He's still being covered by cornerbacks, and the best cornerback on every team is covering Tyreek Hill, and they're still doing it. Get over yourself. Tua's the real deal. Miami's the real deal. They have one of the best coaches in the league. San Francisco is one of the most complete teams in the league. Their defense is unbelievable. The most points scored by a defense. Bosa will be chasing down Tua and trying to smash him into the earth. Dude, this is what football is about. This game is going to be amazing.
This game is going to be amazing. Do you have a side? I mean, San Fran looks – everything is San Fran, but I think people are just maybe discrediting Miami a bit. I know it's a tough matchup. I understand the line, but – man, the Dolphins run motion more than anybody. They've had more explosive plays when they're running motion. I just feel like this is a really good offense. Tua is not only number one in deep ball accuracy, he's number one in accuracy altogether. He's been phenomenal. Right. I don't understand why people have so many doubts still about him. But I tell you what, if he goes into San Fran and wins this game, where everyone, analysts across the board, you ask them their Super Bowl picks, they're all saying San Fran. Nobody's buying into the Eagles. Nobody's buying into the Cowboys. Clearly, nobody's buying into the Vikings. They all say San Fran. And, there's some mixed teams in the AFC, but nobody is saying Miami. I like Waddle to score at plus 150. I like Brendan Ayuk to score at plus 130. And that's it. I'll leave it at that. I think George Kittle is interesting at plus 155, but I like Miami to cover. I think it should be an awesome, awesome football game. Anything else that you want to add? We can get out of here. I don't think we need to. We've almost ran through the entire schedule. We've gotten 15 minutes, but is there anything in the Dallas, Indy, or Saints and Bucks game that you like? I think the boys just roll all over the Colts here.
Yeah, I think they do too. The Jeff Saturday miracle run, I believe, is over.
Dude doesn't even know how to call a timeout. My goodness, that was ugly.
Yikes. Just yikes. I think anybody that had half of a brain knew that that's how this was going to end up. Look, nothing against Jeff Saturday, but you're telling me that that's the best option for the head coach of your team, then I'm afraid your team is in real trouble. And, there was probably 10 better options already coaching on the team, and they were all walked over for Jeff Saturday. I know he has the respect of people. I know he was an unbelievable lineman. I know he was a pretty decent analyst, and from all of what you hear is a pretty good guy, but none of that makes you ready to coach a team in the NFL, and he really showed that last week. I think Dallas smashes them. Kansas City, Cincinnati, super interesting. I think it's a shootout. Los Angeles and LA or Las Vegas will be a shootout. People that have drafted Adams, even though the Raiders are a brutal team, he has been unbelievable all year.
Awesome.
He is the offense. Derek Carr is the same quarterback, as before. Like, he can get it done here and there, but makes pretty drastic mistakes when they really need him. They're missing Darren Waller. I don't think that's any surprise to anybody. And it's really cool to see the kind of season Josh Jacobs has had. He's been one of, if not the most consistent running back all year. He's been great, and it's great to see as a guy that I've kind of always believed in and thought was really good. Really kind of put it together this year. And Saints are brutal. They're brutal.
They're awful. I know that the Saints give Tom Brady fits, and they may give Tom Brady fits this week. But I view this as a low-scoring game. The Saints can't score any points on offense. I'd say it's like a 19-10 game or 14-10 game, something like that. It does sound like Leonard Fournette is going to play. I would play White over him. I don't know if anybody has both guys. I know I do have both guys in the Sirius XM Independence Day Invitational led by Howard Bender. I somehow have both Bucks running backs, and I'm going to play White over Fournette. I think White will have the lead, but Fournette may be the goal line back, and I don't think he's fully going to go away. Yeah, I don't have too much to add. I think you said it perfectly. You know, with those two high-scoring games, the Chiefs and the Bengals and the Chargers and the Raiders, I think both games will go over the number. I like Kansas City, and I like Las Vegas at home. They have really good offense. And if you take away that game where they had 0 points against the Saints, that was a weird game for them. They battled through some illnesses and injuries through the entire week. Nobody was really practicing. Then it was an early game in Nolans. And, if you take away that game, this is a team that's averaging 27 points per game, which is top 5 in the NFL. So they can push the pace. They can hang with the Chargers. They won that game last year when everything was on the line. They've won a couple in a row. They're starting to play their best football. And defensively, they have one of the worst secondaries in the league. So the Chargers are going to be able to push the pace too. I like Palmer at plus 140 to score. Most of the guys inside these two games are juiced, right? But I do believe we'll see Jamar Chase score a touchdown, Travis Kelce score a touchdown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, have him on your bench, back-to-back games of 6 targets and 5 catches. It's not Kadarius Toney that you should be stashing. It is Sky Moore you should be stashing. And then I'll throw a long shot touchdown in that Raiders game, and it's Mac Hollins. But Jacobs and Jacobs and Adams will probably find the end zone because they seem to every single week. You're right. Josh Jacobs he's probably the biggest steal in the draft because nobody wanted to draft this guy because he touched the ball 5 times in the Hall of Fame game. So everyone's like, no, thanks. I'm not gonna draft him. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option, Zamir White. But Jacobs has been a true bell cow. If you're worried about the calf, don't. He didn't practice really at all last week, and he still had like over 200 rushing yards on like 36 opportunities. So I think he plays. He's going to be just fine. Don't worry about him. Have Zamir White on your roster if you want, just in case. It's some insurance at this time of the year. But Jacobs is going to eat.
Time of year to do that, right?
It is, yeah. You should be having certain guys. Samaje Perine sounds like Joe Mixon's going to miss again this week. Perine's a guy that, insurance over the past couple of weeks. Yeah, have all these guys on the way out. That's what we'll say. On the way out, there's just a couple weeks left till fantasy football playoff time. Have 2 defenses, have a second quarterback, maybe even have a second tight end. Just have insurance. Doesn't have to be a handcuff for you, but have these next man up running backs in case anything happens. Like it was a free fall for the waiver wire this year to get Donovan White. That was kind of an outlier. We didn't really know about him, but there's other running backs that could fall into larger workloads in case, like a Miles Sanders go down. Kenneth Gainwell, linked to a good offense that runs the ball well. Just have some of these insurances next man up if you can afford to stash them, especially if you're locked into a playoff spot. Just don't sit back, have those bye weeks covered and things like that. Good stuff, man. Always say we're going to go short, but we went through it all. We went through all the games as we normally do to help.
We love football.
We love sports to help out the good people. We love sports, and we do like hockey. Kyle Connor scores a goal tonight. I gave it on Mean Streets. Plus 130 for Connor to find the back of the net. Starting to heat up, man. He's got a career low shooting percentage. It's only a matter of time.
It's going to bounce back. He's an unbelievable player.
8 goals, and I think 6 of them have come in the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, he's here. He's here. All right, we are going to get out of here, guys. At the Eric Young, at Chris Meaney, ftnbets.com/free, ftndaily.com/free. It's all there for you. Check out the 3-day trials for free. Get in our Discord channel. Take advantage of all the experts' picks across all the sports that FTN has to offer. Enjoy the football. Good luck, and we will catch you next week. Cheers.